we have had a great time being here.
Oh, good.
I mean,
I'm glad.
It's wonderful to be in your classroom and see
Good.
the amazing literacy instruction that's happening and the excitement both with you and the kids. So, some takeaways. What would you feel like you would want other teachers to then learn from some of the things that you've gained?
One thing that I do in my classroom is up until Christmas time, we have structured seating. So I give them a place to sit on the carpet, and they have a distinct spot to sit at their tables as well. After Christmas, I tell them that they are big kids and that they can make their seat choices for themselves. So I always tell them, choose a seat where you can be a good learner. So if you know that you talk to Christy all day, don't sit by Christy. So we kind of teach those skills and how are you going to help yourself be successful. So, and then as for guided reading, I'm really reinforcing that when you are at that guided reading table, this is important and their reading instruction cannot be interrupted. And that time goes so quickly. By the time you do a running record, their book introduction and their word work, and then their lesson, and then their questioning and stuff afterwards, it goes so quick. So there's just no time for interruptions within that. Gosh, I just feel like the biggest thing is like kids learn from what they're excited about. And if you are excited about what you're teaching, I hate snakes. They are my least favorite topic. But when you're up there with your animated face and you're excited, the kids are excited about what you're learning. You would never know. And then always my biggest thing is the kids should never know if you're having a bad day. When you walk through that door, nothing from your personal life or anything about how you're feeling that day should ever be transferred into your kids' classroom. There's so many kids in this world that come to school because it is their safe place and it is the best part of their day. And so you need to make sure that everything you do is the best part of their day. And just that teaching is an ongoing process. You should be continually learning new things and you try things out. Some of them work, some of them don't, and you always are constantly learning, trying, and then reflecting. You can teach the same thing, the same topic several years in a row, but what went well last year? What didn't go well? How can I make this even better for the next year? Your teaching should always be about getting better. And I always go back to loving your kids. I know I mentioned that already, but something as simple as giving every kid a hug as they walk through the door, and we do morning back rubs, because a lot of kids, like, this is the one interaction that they might have that day. So just doing everything you do driven from love and driven through what you know from where you started in college and through reflection of what you've done over the years. Yeah.
So when you think about advice, it's nice you have a student teacher, so it's kind of like you're giving advice all along the way. But if you're thinking about other fellow teachers that want to learn something from your teaching or your classroom management, what kinds of things would you want them to know?
It's hard to go between two grade levels every day and different standards every session. So just keeping all of that straight and remembering what I've done with who and all of that. So I do try to just keep my plans like on the computer so I can look at them if I need to. And it makes it nice because it's electronic, so I can change them quickly if I need to. But yeah, that's my biggest thing, is just keeping it straight. I think just be as natural as you can be with the kids and just enjoy being with them, because that makes it fun for everyone. I don't know. I think when you're first starting out, you have so much to learn that you don't know what you don't know. But as you go, you start to relax a little bit, and you realize that even like your kids who are having a hard time getting it, they will get it. So just relaxing and let that happen at its natural pace, because all kids aren't going to go at the same pace. So not to panic, I guess, would be the big thing.
you did some things, we touched on this earlier, but you did some things that just get kids ready for the lesson. And so tell me those components again.
So when you see them coming in and getting ready for what we call self-control time, and really what that does is it allows their body physically, but also their mind mentally to get to a place where they can learn most efficiently. And helping them create that mindset for learning allows them to be successful, allows them to be engaged and have fun, rather than always disciplining and those types of ways to manage it. So and I would say the number one way I determine if the lessons are going well in the moment is student engagement. And so when I'm tabbing that all in my mind, there's so much going on in my mind, but the number one thing is, are those kids excited about what's going on, and are they engaged, and are they eager? And as you can see, I mean, that's how I know. They just want to yell out their answers, and they're like bursting with excitement, and I think to see that shows learning going on because they're invested.
And I think that's the clarification that pre-service teachers, but sometimes even parents don't understand, is it's a difference of management and discipline. They're two separate things, and you're doing a lot of management things to eliminate discipline issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that would be a note, is it's hard as a teacher. I'm up there, and every little single thing that you kind of see me doing, in the back of my head, it's all directed on managing that classroom. For example, like things you wouldn't notice in a video, like the level of your voice, the pace at which you're going through the words, calling on girls versus boys, moving around the classroom, you'll hear me praising the kids over and over and over and over and over. It's like every single teeny little thing, if you were to ask me about it in the video, I would be able to say, I'm doing that because it allows that kid to, the kid next to him wasn't sitting up or something, and then they heard the other kid was sitting well, so then they kind of want to do that. So each little thing is all part of that management strategy, but if you're quick at all that and you keep on top of it all, it just helps it run so smoothly, and the kids can learn, and that's what it's about.
So I think that is one important piece that if we were to give advice to incoming teachers, student teachers, but what other things would you want others to learn from your teaching?
That's a good question. I think of my teaching, and I don't, I think I'm like any teacher that comes out of college, and I still feel that way. I have so much to learn, and I don't know that much. Really, I really don't. But I think if you are enthusiastic about teaching and you love what you're doing, and you show that, and you show the kids you love it, and you love them, and you're excited about it, that's what they will be. And you have to model that love of it and model that enthusiasm, in my opinion, and then the kids will be that same way about learning, and that's what I shoot for.
That's awesome. And I think you are an amazing example of what you talked about in our first interview of just building relationships, because you can tell that there's such a strength in the relationships that you have with the kids, and I think that's the first place to start. So thanks for letting us come in again. We're coming back. Okay?
Thank you.
We had a great couple of days with you. Thanks for letting us come.
I'm so glad you guys could be here. It was a great fun days, and the kids enjoyed it. And
you have a lot of cues that just remind them of what they need to do, and they obviously have a lot of that self-discipline to know what comes next or what their task is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So another question that I had for you, you use a lot of the Spencer Kagan strategies.
Yeah.
Do you start teaching those to the kids day one?
Day one, yeah, beginning of the year. And part of my PDP this year is to focus on one of the Kagan strategies every month, so we can review on everything we've already learned, but then really focus on one every single month. So this one is mix, pair, share. And that's why we've been doing so much of that, is this month is a mix, pair, share strategy. Last month was rally coach, so some of the strategies have been to work with your partner, A, go first, then B, and teach each other. They worked on that one a lot last month. And then we'll just do one each month to focus on it and review and keep building that in there. But to really have that solid team building and class building at the beginning of the year, we do it with more of the fun activities versus the content.
Okay, so thinking about our future teachers, what kinds of things would you tell them? about your teaching that they could learn from your teaching, or about classroom management?
I think having that gentle, caring aspect really comes off to kids as they care about me and they respect me, and so I'm going to respect and follow them too. Having those expectations at the beginning of the year really solid and strong, and not letting the kids, walk all over you and be too nice, because you're not here to be their friend, but that you are caring about them and want them to learn. So if they set the rules and expectations at the beginning of the year, then the rest is pretty smooth.
You have a great classroom climate. The kids
Yes.
definitely are respectful of you and to one another, which
Oh,
is
they
really
care
great
so
to
much
see.
about each other every single day. It just warms my heart. I'm like, you guys are so
Yeah.
kind and caring, and just like they just love each other. It's just great. I got really spoiled.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to come back to Rock Springs.
I'm so
We've had 2 great days. Thanks for letting us come in. And it was a lot of fun to watch the kids play with words. And then when you think about the organization, but also some management, any things that you want to point out?
Yeah, so it's always tricky to spend a length of time doing any sharing, because not everyone is engaged during that time, which is why I broke it into do your 2 favorite lines. But you also, so then you also are managing, like, making sure that they are, they're projecting their voice, they're sharing their writing, but also that the other kids are engaged, or, they're not talking with each other. So you kind of have to have eyes on 2 places when you do any sort of sharing with writing. And because writing is so personal and people are so proud of it, that you have to be cognizant of the fact that, you have to manage this so that there's comfort in the presentation and that people feel comfortable presenting their work.
So thinking about advice you have for other teachers, what to learn from your teaching, and also some of your management things.
I think, to reiterate what I talked about yesterday, is that idea of, if you have built relationships and kids feel comfortable with you, then the amount of time you spend correcting behaviors lessens, and immensely. It doesn't go away, because there's always those kids that need different behavior management type of things. But I think that if you have your routines in place, if you have your procedures down, and your kids know what to expect. So for example, I asked them to sit as an audience, which they know there's a difference between sitting as an audience and meeting on the carpet. Because as an audience, I use that board to teach from. And so they have a lava line is what we call it. But if you have names for things and they're very specific to those areas, like I always say, meet on the the stripy carpet. If they're confused because it's all carpeted is what they tell me. So which carpet do you want us to? So having set zones, set phrases, things that are repeated over and over again really helps to take out some of those transitions, because transitions is where you can lose a lot of time. And so if those aren't solid, then that's where you'll lose instruction time, you'll lose your kids. A lot of misbehavior happens during that time because they don't know what to do. So if they know exactly what you mean, and those are really tight, then I think that will really help in your entire day. So, yeah, and I think too, utilizing the students because I sometimes I feel like I have to do everything, but you can ask a student, get the podium out, or get the stool out, or, bring up, chairs, or whatever it is. And, to be able to not only have that management yourself, but also know those students you can rely on to help you in those transition moments is nice too. And those are things that you don't think about until you're in the moment. It's like, oh, I did that. I had a student do, this, that, or the other. So those are all things to kind of think about as you manage a classroom, it takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for letting us be here.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Chris, what a great 2 days. This last lesson that we watched, powerful conversations, as I said, it's really amazing to listen to the kids and what their thoughts are, and the comparison of the text that you brought about.
I constantly kind of rework the prompts, rework the ideas depending on how it goes. Because I've done projects before where it's really elaborate, and from the get-go I have, this is what we'll do on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and then it just sometimes just doesn't click. And so I'm pretty responsive to how the kids are currently doing, which is okay if you happen to have a little bit more time, but I'm always doing last minute changes. And so I was really excited that the kids were able to make so many connections across the texts, and that's one of the things I wasn't sure about. And then the Socratic seminar, the class discussion, all those things are supports so that they are able to write hopefully a quality paragraph. One of the issues that we've had for a while is just expanding on our ideas and elaborating, and hopefully with all of the discussion that they've been doing, it will come out a bit more naturally in their writing.
Okay, so to kind of pull everything to a close is when you think about advice that you might have for other teachers, some takeaways both about instruction or management, what kinds of things would you offer up?
What comes to mind right now is being highly reflexive. So really thinking and reflecting on how a lesson went or how an interaction went, both positives and negatives, and letting that soak in, and then finding a plan. So this is how I felt during this experience, this is how I've kind of interpreted this experience, what can I do moving forward? So if it's a positive, you might even look at that and say, well, why is it a positive? And then what can I do to continue those positives? Or even, this was a perfectly pleasant interaction, but learning is sometimes really hard, so maybe it was too pleasant. Maybe the kids could have been pushed a little bit further, or maybe I could have expanded my own way of looking at the situation. And then any sort of negative experiences, whether it's a lesson that flops, whether it's a student who's not engaged or a whole class that's just not engaged in the activity, just kind of step back and try not to take it personally, and then just respond by doing something different, or maybe even the same going forward.
Great. Well, thanks for letting us have the opportunity to come in and be part of your classroom, and then also, and we'll look forward to seeing some of the writing samples from the kids. So
Yeah.
thanks again.
We've enjoyed it too, thank you.